Evening, folks. Welcome to XP Gateshead Open Evening. I'm Mark Lovett. I'm the principal at XP Gateshead, and I can't wait for our students to show you their new school. So all of the work you're going to see this evening has all been put together by our students. They're very excited and proud of the new school. They can't wait to tell you all about it. So in a moment, I'm going to hand over to them. Just bear in mind, by the way, these students have only been in the school for 6 weeks, and I can't wait to see what they've produced as well. Just from me, in terms of what we're an 11 to 16 mainstream secondary school. We've got year 7 at the moment. Next year they'll become year 8, and we'll take year 7 in again. Because there's one or two myths about XP School, let me tell you what we're not. We're not a vocational school. We're not a special school. We're not a specialist school. We're not an outward bound school. We're an 11 to 16 mainstream school. And if you've got a postal code in Gateshead address, then you're eligible to apply to us. If you have any questions throughout the evening, please leave them in the chat. There's an interactive question session at the end of the evening, and we'll endeavour to answer all of your questions then. Have a good evening.
Hi, welcome to XP. I'm Elise.
And I'm Evan. We're going to show you around our school today.
If you'd like to follow us to our first crew room. We use crew every morning for about 45 minutes to have bonding time and to make friendships stronger.
This is Mr. Dobson's crew room, and he also teaches health-related fitness, which is part of PE, and he teaches us about the muscles and what the pairs are. Next, we'll move on to the math.
This is also Miss Mosley's crew room, which is my crew. I spend most of my crew time in here. So,
this is in maths,
with your whiteboard
this
and
term,
your shoulder cards,
this expedition, we are studying about food waste and how much food is wasted every time an average family has a meal.
So you can work out the whiteboards first. Go whiteboards, please, quick. And then I want people on the board. I want some teachers.
Also here is like a blank canvas for all of our beautiful work to go. There's more like blank walls around, and it's just all for like our beautiful work to be put up on the walls around the school.
So these walls will be really colourful and they'll be covered in everyone's beautiful work. So not just two people, not just me and Elise, everyone's work.
Next we'll take you to the community meeting room, also the dining room. In here is where we eat foods, and there is the kitchen, and we'll also sometimes have community meetings in here with the board, but if not, we have them down at the sports hall for some extra space.
So these tables are for lunch times, and as you can see, they just fold up and go against the wall, and some of the food that the kitchen staff cook are really good.
Yeah. Next we'll go upstairs to our next crew room. This is another blank canvas for all of our beautiful work. This is about like the learning expeditions, and like it leads up into like a guiding question that we have to answer.
Yeah, so at the start of a learning expedition, we don't know the guided question, but we do immersion, which is like where we have a chance to guess what we think the question might be. And then in the community meeting, there's like a big reveal, and we'll find out what the question is and what our expedition's going to be about.
Over here is Miss Tata's crew room, which is also English and Humanities classroom.
And on Tuesdays, we have a Spanish teacher that comes in, and she teaches Spanish in this room as well. So this room is used for lots of purposes.
Over here is a little quote that explains a little bit about crew.
Get crew right, get everything right. And if we head over to over here, there's another crew room, and this is Crew David's crew room, and it's also the music room as well. So you'll be able to see that there's some instruments in it.
There is another sign here, which is our narrative for success.
And this means that like the able to engage section in it means that if a child was dyslexic, for example, we would make sure that they had the right coloured paper to make them able to concentrate more and complete their work to the full ability.
Over here is the art and science lab. Art we do the most critique. Critique is basically where we like help each other, and like we see what we like about it and what can be improved about it. But we don't critique the person, we critique the work.
So in science, this term we're studying about the ground beneath our feet, and we did BBK, which stands for Building Background Knowledge.
Over here is the protocols that we use in lessons. For an example, cold call would be where you don't put your hand up, the teacher just picks somebody at random.
And popcorn is where the group says their ideas one at a time, and if someone talks over each other, they would let the other person go first. And this means that everyone's ideas get contributed to it, and not just one person is answering everything. And that's pretty much our school. So thank you for coming on our tour.
We hope to see your children here very soon.
And becoming the best version of themselves.
Good evening, I am Beth.
And I'm Holly.
And welcome to XP Gateshead. We are from Crew Dobson.
At XP, we believe our purpose is to help each other to become the best versions of ourselves.
As one of the founders of Outward Bound, Kurt Hahn, said, "There is more in us than we know."
In this section of our open evening, we will talk you through our Outward Bound adventure, our 5 character traits, and how we are using these to be the best versions of ourselves.
Our 5 character traits are respect, integrity, courage, and above all, compassion.
Our story starts with Outward Bound in Ullswater and how we use this to build our character and learn about our character traits.
It is also important to think about the end of our story too. We have a mission at XP Gateshead. Our mission is to get ourselves and 49 other students to be university ready.
That is our goal for the end of the time we are here. We will do this through creating beautiful work, developing our character, and seeing academic success.
Every story has a beginning, middle, and end. We know there will be bumps in the road, but we will always overcome them because we are Crew.
Let's go back to the beginning of our story. This video will show how we have used these traits to start to become the best versions of ourselves.
Respect is where you are kind to someone, no matter who they are. This was really important for us to bond as a crew as we all come from different backgrounds. We will be there to support each other for our whole time at XP. At Ullswater we showed respect by always listening to our instructors, crew leaders and others. We showed respect to the centre by always checking and tidying up after us. We call this stewardship. We showed respect to the centre staff by thanking them for their hard work. We showed respect for the equipment we used by not damaging or losing it. Here you can see our crew showing respect by listening to our instructors and supporting each other.
Craftsmanship and quality is always doing the best job we can do. At XPG we do this through drafting, but at Ullswater we also showed this by keeping our bedrooms and kit room tidy, ensuring we had the right kit for each activity. During our expedition, we need to make sure we all had the right equipment, but we also had to pack our rucksacks properly. Here you can see our crew learning about craftsmanship and quality by packing the correct equipment neatly and in an organised way for our overnight expedition.
Courage is when you have the strength to push out of your comfort zone. We showed this at Ullswater by coming to school on our first day at a new school with new teachers and students, then getting straight on the coach and going to Ullswater for a week. Another example of courage is when we did the cliff jump. Some of our crew were very scared, but they still showed the courage to come and have a look at the jump and jump off, especially with the support of the crew.
Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Words to describe integrity are honesty, responsibility and kindness. We showed integrity at Ullswater by tidying the kit rooms without staff supervision, following the rules and turning our lights off and going to sleep each night. Here you can see Charlie making sure that our kit room was tidy for the benefit of our whole crew.
Compassion is being kind to others, no matter the situation, even if it means that you suffer. Compassion is being kind, comforting and supportive, because you do your best to see things from others' point of view. Here are some of the ways we showed compassion at Ullswater. During our jogging dip, we were encouraged to jog down to Lake Ullswater and dip our heads in the water. Some of our crew were very nervous about the dip. As a crew, we came together to help and encourage each other. Compassion is such an important trait to XP. We believe that above all, we should show compassion. Here, you can see us showing compassion by helping each other to all achieve the same goal as a crew during our jogging dip. Outward Bound Ullswater was just the start of us learning how to become the best versions of ourselves. But by the end of that week, we had bonded as a crew and felt like we had known each other for years.
Courage is where you show bravery and step out of your comfort zone. An example of where we showed this trait was when we were nervous. We did get on that bus and built up the courage to start a conversation.
Times where we have shown respect throughout the residential were when we showed and used our manners to our leaders, our XP community and the staff at Outward Bound. We also show respect by looking after the whole outward bound building and keeping the rooms intact.
One time when I was showing integrity was when I unpacked people's bags. I did just because it was the right thing to do, not because anyone was watching.
We showed craftsmanship and quality when we were stewards of the storeroom and canteen. We also showed this character trait when packing the correct kit.
An example of compassion was when a person is upset in our crew, so we care for them without drawing major attention to them. Therefore, using all these character traits, we can become the best versions of ourselves.
Hello, I'm Katie and this is Lacey. Welcome to Crew Tata's presentation. We are focusing on what it means to be crew and develop character.
Today we're going to be explaining all the key reasons for our crew, character traits and community meetings at XPG. All of these help us develop our character.
We have 45 minutes every day in crew, showing our thoughts and feelings. This helps us to grow our confidence. Some crews are check-ins to make sure that everyone is okay and ready to learn.
Some of the morning crews are book clubs. At the moment we are reading Seed Folks, which is about building community. Some crews we maybe do initiatives to help us develop teamwork. Every crew will decide upon their crew name and charity we will support them.
Academic crew is when we talk about our habits of work and learning, which are work hard, get smart and be kind. We reflect on how well we are doing and support others that need help in their studies too.
Crew is the most important thing at XP and it helps us to develop our 5 character traits, which are courage, integrity, respect, craftsmanship and quality, and above all, compassion. These are not just words, it's our DNA.
We have a crew schedule for the week, but every day includes student notices. This gives us time to plan our events throughout the day. Check-in is a big part of crew. It lets us get to know each other better and become a school family.
Every Friday we'll have a community meeting to engage with our peers. This also lets us discuss any appreciations, apologies, pledges, and stands. Every student talks about our character traits in this meeting. This is where our culture is cared for.
At XP, it is really important that every student knows one member of staff really well, someone we can go to for support. This is our crew leader. In our crew, this is Crew Tata's.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Every morning we meet for crew at 8:30 to 9:15. In that time we share ideas and feelings. We are leaders, not followers, so that means we can help each other go out of our comfort zones. Crew is a place where we can ask for and accept help from our in-school family. Just like boats need crew, so does our school. Each group of 50 students is divided into 4 crews. Our mission is to get our crew ready for university by helping each other to produce beautiful work, grow our character and see academic success.
We have a crew because it helps us to learn that we are stronger because of our differences. Already we have seen how crew supports us with our confidence and helps us learn how to develop strong relationships based on trust.
Each day, we have different activities in crew. For example, on Mondays, we check in and make sure everyone is ready to learn, perhaps discussing issues from the world. Tuesdays, we read, often in book clubs. At the moment, we are reading Seed Folks by Paul Fleischman. This is a book about building community, which all starts when a young girl plants a seed to try and feel connected to her deceased father. On Wednesdays, we learn about ourselves and each other. For example, at the moment, we are focusing on identity. On Thursday, we do academic crews, where we focus on our habits of working, learning, and our academic grades, supporting and challenging each other to do even better. Fridays are flexible and can be a time to catch up, get ready for community meetings, or do initiatives like volunteering or adventures.
These are our 5 character traits. We live by these every day. Crew helps us to be able to talk about these traits and understand what it means to show great character. Every day we talk about these values, and throughout the week we get ready for our community meeting by reflecting on when we have seen others showing great examples of each trait. For example, I am using courage right now because I am not very fond of public speaking. This means I am going outside my comfort zone. In this school, people do this because we have crew to support and challenge each other.
Community meetings are where we talk about our school culture with the whole school community. In community meetings, we can make a stand if we think our character traits are not being followed. Individuals are expected to make an apology and a pledge to put it right. The whole community makes sure they follow this pledge. Community meetings give everyone a voice and make sure that we highlight the great things that we do by appreciating each other.
Something different about our school is our community meetings. Every Friday we go down to the sports hall, get into a circle and respect others when speaking. We do appreciations, pledges, stands and apologies. At XPG we are a different school in a lot of ways, but the one that people often notice first is non-uniform. We have non-uniform so we can express ourselves and show our personality. We are also trusted to dress appropriately for whatever we are doing that day and follow the dress code to develop our independence. At break and lunch, we go to the tennis court, play with our friends and have fun. At lunchtime, we sit at the table together with our crew for a crew family meal. Every day, 2 people from each crew clean the table, then we go outside. We also wait for everyone to finish their lunch before we go outside so no one feels left out. During crew time, we always circle up. We circle up so when someone is talking, they can see everyone. Crew boosts us in our lessons and gives us more confidence by working together as a team and helping each other improve.
Hello, today Ruby and I are going to introduce the concept of beautiful work at XP Gateshead.
For the next 15 minutes, Crew Mosley will be describing the process of beautiful work and why it's important to us.
Beautiful work is important to us because it allows us to seek and accept feedback and redraft our work based on the critique given.
From year 7 to year 11, we will strive to go beyond what we thought we were capable of and produce the best, most beautiful work possible.
By the time we have left XP Gateshead, we will be fully fledged authors, illustrators, interviewers, artists, mathematicians, because we produce the work that is of the same quality as the work of adults.
All books produced by XP students are examples of beautiful work that will be sold for the public to purchase and read. This real audience is one of the reasons we will not rest until our work is beautiful.
From the knowledge we gain at XP Gateshead, we will be able to achieve our goals in life and continue to create beautiful work that makes a difference to our community throughout our careers.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the rest of Crew Mercy's presentation about beautiful work.
Whip-arounds are used every day. Everyone shares a quick word or two about a subject or a topic. This leads to beautiful work by checking everyone is ready to learn, everyone is switched on, and it gives everyone a chance to share ideas and improve their work.
Critique is when you've done a piece of work and you ask a friend for feedback and you use that feedback to make it work better. Therefore, that will lead to beautiful work. At XP, we have assessment rubrics. These help us give great critique because they tell us exactly what we have to write or do to get our work to a level of excellence. That is what our school is about, becoming the best, most excellent versions of ourselves through our beautiful work.
When we do critique, we have norms. We step up and step back and make sure our feedback is kind, specific and helpful. Our feedback is kind because we critique the work, not the person. This means we can be kind by pointing out what needs to improve. This is actually the kindest thing we can do, to be critical in a kind way. Our feedback is specific because we give feedback on a certain part of the work, not just general points like including more detail. Our feedback is helpful because we teach each other what we have to include or what we have to do to improve. So instead of saying include more detail, we can tell each other what those details are that need to be included.
Drafting is when we complete a piece of work and then get feedback. We use that feedback to do that work again, but an improved version. Then we keep getting critique and making our work the best that it could be. Each time we redraft our work, it gets that little bit better and we realise that there was more in us than we knew.
Our portfolios are binders where we'll keep most of our beautiful work. Often this has been drafted multiple times with feedback from peers and teachers. We show our parents our portfolio in student-led conferences. These are like parents' evenings except we do the talking. We present to our parents about our learning and the work we are proud of and how we are working hard to master learning targets that we find a challenge to. In Year 9 we will do a passage presentation, which is when we present on our readiness for GCSE studies using all of our years of work as evidence.
As previously mentioned, critique plays a huge role in XP's beautiful work.
Doing a show call. I've asked Evan to show us his work, and we're going to do some critique of Evan's work because he wants some feedback. He's got a specific problem. Would you like to tell us, please? First of all, what are you trying to achieve with this design? In terms of
a student's work can be improved with some observations from other people.
But I need some critique on the Pikachu riding on the star, because when I look at it, it doesn't seem like it.
When asking for critique, students identify something in their work that they are not happy with.
This Pikachu here, is that correct, Evan? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so he's not happy with that. Now, that means that we can give some warm feedback for the whole thing, but when we're giving suggestions, I do want us to focus on Evan's problem that he's identified.
We start with warm feedback, which are notices and praises for the strengths in the work.
Ruby, warm feedback first, please.
I praise the accuracy of the letters in his name.
Great, and what can you see here, Ruby, that tells you that Evan's been taking our advice about getting basic geometry? Has he started by drawing the letter E?
No, he hasn't. He started by drawing like the baseline, like a rectangle.
We then make suggestions for how the work can be improved.
Let's focus on Evan's issue with the Pikachu. Give me a thumbs up if you can see some issues with this Pikachu, and I compare it with a similar sort of Pikachu in a similar sort of stance. Give some thumbs up if you can see some issues with that. Alright, what would we say then? What feedback would we give to Evan that's kind, specific and helpful, and is about the work, not about Evan? So we're going to step up and step back. I'm seeing loads of hands now of people who want to talk. Fantastic. What would you say?
One eye on the Pikachu is bigger than the other.
So what would your advice be as a suggestion?
Try try not to make them as like oval shaped, more circular?
Like its tail, with the Pikachu's tail, I think it needs to be more like I can't really describe it, but it's more like.
Come and draw it for me. Draw it at the table.
More like sharp.
Right, more sharp, more zigzag, yes?
Yeah.
So what we're noticing is this shape here is a bit flat, so perhaps pull that in.
For the head, I think it's a bit more oval shaped than on the picture, it's more circular.
Great, so thank you. Ollie.
I noticed that the ears, like one of them seems bigger than the other, and like more like short and more cat-like instead of like Pikachu, like the ears being taller and maybe more thinner.
So longer and thinner ears. Got some advice for how I could get a sense of how big the ears are in comparison to the head. What should I be doing? What technique should I be doing? Go on, Corbin. Measuring with what? So I could measure with a ruler. If I measure this as being, let's say, 15 centimetres, Corbin, am I then going to draw this as 15 centimetres? Is that what you mean? So how can I get a comparative size between maybe the head and the ear? What can I do there, Corbin? Yes.
Even if it's just one person being critiqued, we all learn because we can see how to meet the learning target.
At the bottom of his head. And then tell me, between the size, what's the head size? Height of the head and the height of the ears.
Yeah, I know that the height of the ears is a tiny bit bigger than the height of the head.
So, holding that up, it's just a tiny bit bigger. So, if we do that with the ears on the drawing here, notice I'm not saying Evan's draw it, it's the drawing. What do you notice here? Absolutely fantastic critique.
After a critique, the person receiving critique should know exactly what to do to improve their work.
I need to make the tail like more zigzaggy. I need to make the ears like a little bit longer. The head needs to be more circular. The ears need to be more circular. The eyes need to be more circular. And then the nose and the mouth need to be a bit further up.
Absolutely fantastic critique, guys. We'll do another show call in a bit. For now, we're just going to go back to sketching.
Having your work critiqued is really useful because it means that you can change your work to be able to get the best piece of work that you can create. And when people give you critique,
Over the next 5 years you'll spend at XP. If you join us, your portfolio of beautiful work will be filled with work you are proud of.
they make sure that it's kind, specific and helpful. So pinpoint in specific parts of the picture or whatever your task is, and explaining what you could do better with it. And when they do that, they make sure that they critique the work but not the person. So not like Evan's picture was really bad. It's like the work isn't as good as it could be, but you can make it better.
Fantastic, thank you, Evan.
Good evening, my name is Charlie, and over the next 15 minutes, Crew Devitt will be talking about our classroom protocols that help us achieve academically, such as cold call, whip around and think pair share. We are also going to be talking about some of the other things that makes our school so great, such as classes of 25 mixability, students and expeditionary learning.
Good evening, my name is Corbin and I want to talk to you about our howls. These are our habits of working and learning, and they help us to ensure that we are successful. Our howls are work hard, get smart and be kind. We do these because it helps us form good study habits and achieve as highly as we possibly can. This is the way the teachers assess us at XP. Not just our academic grades in subjects, but also our habits of working and learning.
Because if we are safe, able to engage, attending, and if we are working hard, getting smart and being kind, then we know as a result we will be successful. Our school is built on a model of successful schools in Doncaster, which have strong GCSE results. But more than that, students become the best versions of themselves, as well as seeing academic success.
Our learning at XP is different to the learning in other schools. We focus on a different guiding question in every term. For example, at the moment we have 2 expeditions with guiding questions. How can food bring communities together, and what do the communities of North East England owe to the miners? Each guiding question connects learning from lots of different subjects. Through lots of work with experts, fieldwork and presentations of learning and the final products, we develop great knowledge, but also we become confident speakers, researchers, scientists and mathematicians and artists. We discover our passions and make sure that we're all on track in our mission to be university ready.
As you know, critique is a way of helping others. We use critique as a method to get 100% out of each other and to improve our work. We know that we can be critical because we are critiquing the work and not the person. Everyone feels safe to have their work critiqued.
We use protocols because it helps everyone to learn and get their voices heard. It moves the class towards equity. We all know what is expected of us and we all feel safe. Some of our key discussion protocols are popcorn, whiff around and think, pair, share. Popcorn is where we discuss ideas but are able to talk when we can add something to the discussion. If we pop at the same time as someone else, we show good manners and step back. A cold call is when a teacher chooses someone to answer a question. This makes sure that everyone has an idea ready in their head. Whip around is when we all have our answers and every student gets a voice. We use this to make sure everyone is involved and heard. Think, pair, share is introduced in many lessons to get us thinking individually and then gives us a chance to discuss things with our partners before sharing with the class.
We use howls in our learning every day by being polite and kind, arriving on time and prepared for every session. Our howls are work hard, get smart and be kind. We use these to help our learning. So we work hard to get smart so we can go out into the world, be kind and make positive differences in our lives. Working hard is about putting in an amazing amount of effort. The work here is tough, so you have to participate fully and get stuck in, but also mindfully. This means you have to think really hard too. Of course, we also have to complete work in a timely manner to the best of our ability. Getting smart is important because we can all get smarter. We do this by welcoming feedback through critique and redrafting our work based on established criteria or assessment rubrics. Being kind is a very important howl as it links to compassion. It helps us to make our community a better place by working cooperatively with others, by letting them bring their ideas. We also show kindness by looking after resources and acting as stewards of our community.
We use experts to help us to learn and carry out fieldwork. For example, as geologists, historians or journalists, just as experts would do in the field. We students lead our own learning. We are accountable for our howls and academic grades. We regularly showcase our learning through celebrations of learning, where we present our work at the end of an expedition. We are currently working on a local history book about the mines in this region, and we will present our learning in December of this year. By the end of this academic year, we will be published authors. Because our work is important, we realize we are important, and this drives us on to see academic success.
What you know about the structure of the earth from last lesson. This is retrieval practice. If you prefer to write your answers on the whiteboard, I'm okay with that.
At XP, we base all of our learning around a guiding question. Learning targets in each lesson help us build up to that guiding question.
So our learning target is, I can describe the large-scale structure of the Earth. And then there's this bit here, making reference to a model. Making reference to a model.
The learning target is broken down, so we all know what success will look like in every lesson.
Who can tell me what they think are the important words in this learning target? Okay, can I pop in your hand down?
Scale structure.
So you want scale structure. I'm just going to underline those. So scale structure. We'll come back and ask you why you think that in a moment. Anyone else? Describe. Good. That's the commandment. That's what we're going to be able to do. Let's just build that. Can people build?
Because we know what a model is, so maybe we'll like give a definition of the word model.
It's a bit like something to find out that you can't read.
We are not just giving grades for each subject, but for all of our long-term learning targets.
This means we have a really good idea of our strengths and areas for improvement in every subject.
So what were you going to say?
I was going to say that it's a model of something that you can't see, so you know what. Well, it's like an estimation.
This idea of what do I mean when I talk about a good model?
We take our knowledge from class to class, but they are all based on the same guiding question.
A good model, you can like make a picture in your head and imagine what it would be like.
Okay, Maddie.
I like the part you said it's like a representation of something basically.
Well, that's a beautiful way of putting it. So I think
At the end of the lesson, we always go back to our learning target. For example, the teacher might give us an exit ticket to check our understanding.
Good evening. We are delighted to be able to host this part of the evening live. We're broadcasting you live from our building. And we've got some of our fabulous pioneering students with us tonight who have written some words that they want to talk to you about. Some of the questions that you've been asking, some of them from the live stream, and also some of them where you filled in that Google form for us in advance. So we'll just get straight to it, and at the end, Julie, Mark, myself will answer some of those questions as well. So we're delighted to be here. We're going to start with the start of our journey with these students. Some people have been asking about transition from year 6 to year 7, which is obviously really important for parents thinking about making that big decision of the next school for their children. So Daniel, you wanted to say a little bit about how we do transition at XP?
Yeah. So basically, like other schools in the UK, we have a day where we look around and like see what the school's like and stuff. And then, however, but like not like other schools in the UK, we go to Outward Bound so that we can connect each other and see the school's guidelines and the school's culture.
Fantastic, thank you. That's a really, really important moment, that first week. It's where students get to understand what it means to be crew and what it means to be an XP student and have a real visceral experience of climbing a mountain and being able to say to each other, yes you can, there's more in you than you think. So really, really important that first week. That's where our transition happens. We have a transition day, but the main part of transition is that week, where by the end of that week, students have got a really firm understanding that I love my new school and I love my new crew. Really, really important. Okay, we've had a question about being university bound. University bound. So how do we achieve that? What does that mean? Isla? Oh, that's not you, Isla, is it? Bella, sorry. Put you on the spot. So, sorry, Bella, that's you, isn't it?
Yeah. Our common mission as a school is to get us and 49 other students ready for university. We're going to achieve this goal by following our habits of work and learning, or HALS, and critiquing each other kindly. We also do a lot of public speaking, which we believe sets us apart from children from other schools, and we get to voice our own opinions. We get to meet experts and interact with them, and we also get to set out on a lot of expeditions that we think really amplify our learning.
Great. And I know a question came in on the live stream about kind of students who see themselves on a vocational pathway. Did you want to say something about them, Malcolm, that university-bound message?
Yeah, so it's university-bound for any student who wants to be university-bound. But if youngsters want to pursue a vocational route, then we do everything we could to support and encourage that as well. So you don't have to go to university, it's not necessarily for everyone, but for everyone who wants to be university bound, that's kind of part of our mission here at XP.
Great, thank you. All right, so we're going to start talking about some questions related to beautiful work, which is what Miss Mosley's crew have been working on and put those videos together for you. Harris, some parents have asked about kind of technology in school and devices. Could you talk about that for us, please?
Well, here at XPG, each student will be provided with an iPad. You will only use these iPads when told. Sometimes we will be using the iPads for classwork, and sometimes you will be using them for homework. For homework, you will be using Times Table Rockstars. You'll be using the school website, which is xpgateshead.org. And if you are absent or you want to study more, you can log into our XP website and go to our learning maps website and find out more about the lessons.
Great, thank you. And that's a really important principle, that we put together these curriculum websites which have all of the national curriculum standards there for students to study. And we're not the gatekeepers of that knowledge. If a student wants to learn more about what they're studying in class in our expeditions, they can go to our learning maps, they can hit explore further, and there's countless resources there for them to learn more and to go beyond what they're doing in the classroom.
Well, I'm just going to say that I did see Harris playing Minecraft on his iPad earlier, but that wasn't the Minecraft club, wasn't it? So that was,
Brilliant plug for the website there as well, Harris, xpgateshead.org. So, lots of parents have asked, how do you get children to produce such high quality work? And we'll emphasise this a few times. These are the children's words. That was the children's work that you've watched for the last 50 minutes. Everything that you've seen tonight has been produced by the students. That's what we do around here. But how does that work, Daniel? How do we get you to produce such brilliant work?
We use redrafting and critique like we normally would, but we also have a big audience like now to make them want to do good, to impress others, and to make them want to carry on what you're doing.
Brilliant. So that external audience is really, really important. So thank you for being our audience tonight as well. I know Miss Mosley wants to say a little bit about this in terms of SEND afterwards, but parents have been asking about kind of pastoral and well-being support. How does that work at our school? And some have just asked, what makes our schools different? Well, for us, the answer to that is crew. It's a really, really easy answer to give. But what crew is, it's really hard to describe unless you've experienced it, but Sonny's going to have a really good go at describing to us what crew actually is.
Crew is like our second family. We trust in our crew, and crew is like our community. And we have 45 minutes each day. We learn about ourselves and our identity in crew. And in our crew leaders, we can talk to them if we're uncomfortable at home or about anything. We are honest to our crew, and we don't say they're greatest at everything, because they'll never succeed in life.
Brilliant. And a really important one in that, in terms of that wider support and SEND support. I know you want to say something about that, Julie, in terms of the extra event that we're putting on in terms of information.
Yeah, I know we've got a lot of questions come on in terms of SEND provision. But next week on Wednesday, we're going live again with an event with XP Trust, and that will be for any parents who've got those specific questions about SEND support and what we offer as a school and what we do in XP Trust. So next Wednesday, it's on our website, and the link will be there. The first thing is just to get on there and ask those questions so we can be really specific and respond to your questions.
Great. And as you've seen, we have a narrative for success. What is most important to us in the first instance are children safe? Are they able to engage? Are barriers to their learning being taken away? Are they attending? And then we start looking at habits of work and learning. So that well-being and that happiness is really, really important. And we've seen some questions about the size of the school and does that impact on friendships and the number of friendships that students can have. Izzy, you were going to say something on that?
No, it doesn't affect friendships, but instead makes us closer because we get to know each other so well that it feels like we have known each other for years. Also, crew helps us to understand that we can be different yet still be friends. We help each other to get better instead of
tell you that we're brilliant, as that will do nothing to help the other person.
Great. And then there have been a few questions on after-school clubs and extracurricular. So just a quick bit on that, please.
So we have some of our after-school clubs are. We have on Thursdays we have like multi-sport, which we can do, such as football and basketball. We have a fitness club. We have a French club and a book club. During lunches and breaks, we can go into the music room, and we have guitars, electric keyboards, glockenspiels, and we'll soon get drums. And we have a Minecraft club, and one day we'll have extended study, which we can do some homework there, or finish some work that we didn't finish in a timely manner during the lessons.
Great. And so that's an important principle, that we have these clubs each evening, but students can also come back after school and do extended study, so they can do their homework in school essentially, and make sure that they're on top of that. And that's Monday to Thursday, students are able to do that as well. Around the subject of academic success and achievement for students, because that's the end game for all of us. There was an article in the Times yesterday, some of you might have seen it, with the headline, "No Maths Lessons," which isn't strictly true, really. So, either do we have math lessons, do we do GCSEs?
Like any other secondary school, we will take GCSEs to use, but we use expedition and learning initiatives to achieve the best grades we can get. As we go higher up in the school, we'll do more expeditions at the same time as others. Alongside expeditions, our teachers make sure that we have the right learning to study the things we need to study at the exam. Our results in the Doncaster school are very strong.
So those GCSE results in Doncaster are very, very strong. And a lot of the work that we do, the difficult work, but the great work in terms of planning as teachers, is mapping those national curriculum standards and those GCSE standards to really exciting, visceral learning expeditions where the learning is brought to life. So if you have a look in the Times yesterday for XP School in Doncaster, get past the first 2 or 3 paragraphs because there's some inaccuracies in there. But after that, it's a really great article which captures, yes, we do study science, yes, we do study maths, yes, we do study geography, but it's through these cross-curricular learning expeditions where learning is brought to life and contextualised for the students through stories and narratives and case studies, and where we have these brilliant, beautiful products that we produce, which are the end point of each of those expeditions. But the end point for our students in terms of pastoral care is brilliant GCSE results. That's what we're here for, as well as that character development. Some parents have also been asked about the mixed ability setting, and does that have an impact on the pace at which students are able to work, given that we have students who are from different backgrounds, have had different experiences at primary school, have different strengths and areas for development. So mixed ability classrooms, Ethan.
We have mixed ability classrooms, which means that people who aren't fluent readers can hear what fluent reading sounds like every day. We also have learning coaches in every classroom to support students that need help. Teachers give us really hard things, such as in science, where we learn about Earth structure. But the teachers have also been teaching us some things that even adults don't know. For example, I now know that the tectonic plates are made up of the crust and the most rigid part of the mantle. Together these are called the lithosphere.
Great, thank you, Ethan. So we have a learning coach for every classroom, which is quite unusual, but that is part of our staffing model and we budget for that. So there is an additional adult in every single classroom, and that helps us with that task of differentiating to the students' needs. But as I say, if you have particular questions on SEND, we'll be answering those in that question and answer session next week. So if you just have a look on our website, there's a post with the big XP Trust banner on there with more details. Okay, so coming back to that, do we have maths lessons? Do we have a timetable, Isla?
We do have a timetable for daily lessons. These can easily be changed if needed. We also have teachers that can teach multiple subjects.
Great. So at the moment, I'm teaching music, but I also teach maths, I teach science. Mrs. Mosley's teaching maths at the moment. She's also our SENCO and our designated safeguarding lead. Mr. Lovett's head of school principal, but he's also stuck in at the coalface teaching science as well. Miss Tatters, she's an English and the humanities teacher. We've got sports coaches. So we look for staff and we appoint staff who are going to teach across those disciplines. And that's one of the beauties of having a blank sheet of paper, is we're able to go out there and get the very best who are available, and our staff are magnificent. They're absolutely magnificent. Okay, so I just want to say before we go on to some more questions that we're going to field, what an absolute knockout job you've done, students. Absolutely fantastic. You should be really proud of yourself. And to hear you talking about a school culture like that after just 6 weeks, wow. Imagine 5 years. I know one of the parents said that, like, imagine 5 years' time what these students are going to be like. Never mind university students will be ready to run the country. And I put my trust in you.
And I'd vote for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the mechanics that people have asked about the criteria of successful entry, I can't emphasise enough that we're just a regular mainstream school and we're part of the regular admissions process. So you apply for us in the same way that you would for any other school now, through that form that needs to be completed by October the 31st. It's really, really important that, you know, we will be oversubscribed. That is guaranteed, and that's been the case in Doncaster for a long time now, since our first year of opening. 550 applications for every 50 places in Doncaster. It will be 50 places again next year, and it will continue to be 50 places every year until the school's full with 250. And that's the size it will remain. You know, in terms of plans for the future, would we then look to have a second school like in Doncaster? Possibly, but we're concentrating on making this work right now. It's really important, if you want your son or daughter to get into this school, that you don't only name XP as your choice. Alright? You would need to have a second and a third choice, because if you were unsuccessful in that random allocation, that would mean that then the local authority would make a decision on where would the next placement be for your son or daughter. So putting XP Gateshead down as your only choice will not make it more likely that you will get in. In fact, it puts you at risk if you're not lucky enough in that lottery to get a place here, that you would then be given another school which wouldn't have been your second preference. So really, really important that if we're your first choice, you must put a second choice, you must put a third choice. Our admissions policy is on our website, but I will say the catchment area is essentially all of Gateshead and some of the surrounding areas, for example Springwell Village, which is close geographically, it's just up the road here. That is a broad catchment area, and there was a question about the demographics of that our catchment area in Gateshead seems to be in areas of higher deprivation than in Doncaster. Actually, it's very, very similar. One of the reasons we knew we could make a brilliant school here is because the catchment and the type of students that we're working with are essentially, on almost all metrics, very, very much the same as in Doncaster. We're used to working with brilliant young people like these and getting them to be really, really successful. So the catchment, it doesn't matter how close you live, so provided that you are in one of those postcodes on our admissions policy, which you can get on our website, then you have just as much chance as everybody else of getting in. There are some priorities, which again are on our admissions code, but essentially, for almost everybody who applies, it's a lottery, and that's a random allocation, which is carried out by the local authority to ensure transparency, but everybody who applies has just the same chance of getting in, provided that you're in that catchment area. There were some other questions around SEND that again, I think we'll answer next week, but there's some really simple ones, like Julie, for example, would my child who's type 1 diabetic, would that prevent them from attending XP?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And some of the more, you know, where they're children with more complex needs, we'll be able to talk about that next week in that question and answer session. So there were questions like, what support do you have for SEND, for dyslexia, for learning difficulties? One of the things that, again, we wanted to stress here was about that intake and the small size of the school. And I know Izzy's spoken to that, but I don't know if you wanted to add in that, Julie, in terms of friendship groups and just having 50 kids.
What's really interesting, I'm just looking at the question that's came in, is this idea that, you know, in terms of friendships, and is that more difficult to get along? Do you know what? I'm looking at that from somebody who's worked in large secondaries and large year groups, and actually the smallness is meaning that boys and girls play, everybody, you know, at break time and lunchtime, 50 kids play together. So there's not that kind of getting into different groups at all. Would you agree, guys? It is, yeah. I agree strongly. So for me, I just think there's a real strength in that knowing each other and knowing each other really well, that already we're feeling, which is quite different. So in terms of a concern about, you know, the person who wrote this one, it was about the potential to make friends. I think there's a greater potential here, what I'm seeing already, in terms of strength of friendships that are grown very quickly.
And just to build on what Julie said, I just think that the emphasis on community and crew, those structures, and being one community really helps that. We really do feel like a community. And just bear in mind, these guys came from 15 different primary schools and didn't know each other from before the summer holiday, and this is 6 weeks in, and I already feel like I've known them for years. Do you feel like you know each other well?
Yeah.
Can I just say again, the other part is that responsibility of being, getting each other's, having each other's back. I think that's really strong, and I think that's built in terms of those crews and that outward bound. But I just think that responsibility that young people now have to each other, to push each other further than they thought possible. We talked about that this morning, didn't we? Friends are just not nice to each other. That's good. But being a really good friend is saying, I know you can do better than that, and I'm going to help you get there. And that's the kind of conversations that we're having and hearing all of the time. So for me, it's an absolute joy 5 weeks in. And like Mr. said, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in 5 years' time, because it's pretty sensational.
And that having each other's back, we've talked about being critical to be kind. One of the things that students will do around here, because they understand that they are the vocal majority who want to get on and who want to do well, they have a voice. So for example, I have the pleasure of being this young man's crew leader. He's just whispered in my ear and used his voice. He forgot one of my questions, sir. Now I think the normal 11 or 12-year-old kid would just go, oh, actually, just ignore that. I've missed one of your questions, Ethan, which was, and it's a really important one in terms of academic success, how do we report on progress? How do parents know that we're doing a good job with their children in terms of their character development, and how do we report on their academic progress? Ethan.
We have a set on our HOWLs and learning targets. Throughout the year, students will do regular presentations where they show and discuss their work and grades with their parents and crew leaders.
Great. So do you want to say something on that matter in terms of student-led conferences and passage presentations?
Yeah, I'll just build on what Ethan said. So first of all, students are set what we call a minimum expected grade, and we baseline that through CAP testing. So students have a not a ceiling, but a floor above which they're expected to perform at. So that's part of our academic assessment. And student conferences are a little bit like, the normal parents' evenings, but flipped. So in one model, mum and dad and Ethan sit here, and mum and dad say to me, Mr. Lovett, tell me how Ethan's doing in science. But in this one, what we do is we flip that. So actually, Ethan sits that side of the desk, and I sit here with Ethan's mum and dad, and we say, okay, Ethan, explain to us how well you're doing in science, and possibly show us some of your work, please, and show us some work which you're really proud of, and also talk to us about some work that you've had feedback on, and tell us how you've improved it. So that's a student-led conference where the student voice, they take ownership of that work and ownership of their learning and responsibility for their progress, with our support, of course. And that's why they're not passengers, they're crew, and that's part of our ethos as well.
Okay. And just linked to that in terms of size of school that we just discussed, with being a small school yearly intake, how do you go about providing sports teams such as football, rugby, netball, hockey, and do that well in a small setting? That is a challenge. It is a challenge in a school of our size. But for example, we have at the moment Mr. Devitt working with our students around football. He's played for England under 18s before and is an exceptional coach. What makes it easier and it becomes less challenging as we grow, when we've got 2 years, we have a combined year 8 team, for example, but also we forge partnerships with, so for example, when the cricket season starts again, we'll be going down to Felling Cricket Club and using their resources. And I know Mr. Lovett's going to talk a little bit about the sites and the building and the renovation, because we are still in temporary accommodation at the moment. It's plenty big enough for us, and there's been a really good job done on that. It is definitely a challenge, but we will work to support the students to develop in the sports that they want to develop in. And in terms of that renovation and the building, Mr. Lovett.
So yeah, we're in temporary. So I don't know if you know the old Thomas Hepburn building. We're in, it's kind of a big block. We used to call it A block. We're not in that bit. We're in the B block part of it. We're here temporarily for 2 years, and really with the the local Department for Education delivery team and the local authority. have just done an exceptional job really of refurbishing it for us. So we've got brand new floors, you can see the brand new lighting, we've got all our brand new furniture, etc. So we're a fully functioning and operating school. We've got the tennis courts, which we use, and we're also going to reseeding some grass just to the side of the tennis court. So that will be our sports field, probably in the summer term. So we're here for a couple of years. As we grow bigger, we are going to have to expand into possibly another part of this building, Thomas Ettler building, and there's feasibility studies around that. But if not, we will be creating new spaces for the intake, which will be, where am I now, 2023. So 2023, we will be moving into a new building which will accommodate what will then be 150 students, because we'll have year 9, year 8 and year 7. But for the time being, we're here, and we're kind of spoiled for space. It's okay, isn't it, guys? We're settling well here. And we'll be here, we're managing with another year group next year, we'll be in the same accommodation for next year as well.
And it's worth mentioning that we're in this for the long haul with the DFE.
Yep.
We've opened a school, it's going to be here forever and ever.
We're not going anywhere.
So we're not going anywhere. We need to look at that feasibility studies of where we move to next, but that will happen. Yeah. That will happen. So your sons or daughters, if they're lucky enough to get in, will be in this building with us next year in the same area of the building. Izzy, you did just want to say a little bit about what crew looks like during the week, yes?
Well, in crew, we work on what it means to support each other, and in physical form, how to get each other to the top of the mountain. Crew is like a family outside your own. We'll have Mindful Monday, a time to reflect on our weekends and check in with each other. We'll have Tranquil Tuesday, a time to read our school book, which is at the minute Seed Forks. We'll have Wonderful Wise Wednesday, a time to continue on our piece of work which we're doing at the minute, which is about like ourselves, and like we've included things like our hobbies, likes, dislikes and friends. We also have Thoughtful Thursday, a time for ourselves and others to reflect on our howls, and we have Free Friday, a time to complete anything we haven't done or a time to try new things.
Great. Thank you very much, Izzy. I think one of the misconceptions about crew, that 45 minutes a day, is that it's kind of happy clappy, if you like, and it's unstructured, and that's time that could be better spent in the classroom. Well, actually, the time we spend in crew is an investment for the classroom. Because the students do crew, the work that they do in class is better because they hold each other to account. They look each other in the eye and say, we think you could work harder, we think you could get smarter, we think you could be more kind. So that is an investment, that time, which reaps dividends in the way that the students are able to collaborate, the way that they're able to communicate, and the way they're able to just get stuck into that learning. There are a couple more kind of practical questions, Mark. Some fairly simple ones. Is this a Catholic school?
No.
And is there transport to get to XP at the moment?
No.
No. So we've got a really wide catchment area. Students are doing a brilliant job of getting themselves here. Our attendance, even in a pandemic, is right up there. We're doing brilliantly with that. I'm really pleased with that. But students have been, and families have been really supportive to each other in identifying bus routes, etc. What we've got is a wonderful space on Facebook, a parents group, where I think all of our parents are signed up to that, and will regularly support each other and ask questions about how are they getting to school, do they want to walk with this person, can you remind me where to put my COVID testing results in on the website. So it's a wonderful space where parents are supporting each other. We're really appreciative of the trust and faith that our first pioneering students and their parents have placed in us. Just linked to that, I know there's one that came in about current resources for science. We've got a science lab. The only thing that we don't have is plugged in gas, so we're using methylated spirits as the burners, but we're able to do all of the experiments that we need to for Key Stage 3 science in there. So that's not an issue for us. So, Mark, do you want to sum up for the evening?
Yeah, first of all, just building on the building, the reason we didn't have a kind of face-to-face evening is actually because we're quite a small setting. So we're a small school at the moment. We're a deliberately designed, small, mainstream, comprehensive school. And we've got COVID as well, so we didn't want to put our youngsters at risk. So we've had a virtual evening. We welcome any follow-up questions. So I think there's a frequently asked question bit on our website and a chance for you to link and ask further questions. I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for being our authentic audience. One of the things we do around here is our students' work doesn't stay locked up in the teacher's cabinet. It doesn't stay in the exercise books, and when they're full up and the cupboard's full up, we chuck them away. Actually, our students' work and learning is living and breathing and making a positive difference to the community they're part of. That's something we feel very strongly. I have to say, you know, we had a visitor last week and she said something which resonated with me. I asked her for some feedback on talking to some of the students, and she said, well, it's made me rethink how we do education across the country. And she said, what I've seen, what I've heard, is ordinary, you know, young people voicing extraordinary values. And I couldn't be more proud of that and more privileged or humbled to be part of this amazing team of educators who founded this school, but also to work with these young people who you know, 6 weeks in. And just to, I know we've said this before, but everything you've seen tonight, the scripting, the slides, the putting together of the slides, the drafting of the work, the presentations, standing in front and has been all the work of our young people. The fact that these guys are six weeks in to their secondary education adventure, I think is just really quite incredible. And so thank you very, very much for coming. Please keep in touch with us and look at what we're doing on our website. It'd be great to see some of you applying for next year. And I just want to thank Julie Martin, and actually you can't see him, but Jeff behind the camera there, who's been very patiently broadcasting all this. And thanks, of course, some fantastic students. Who are we?
We are XP.
Get it. Thank you very much and good night.
Good night.
Good night.